My name is Joel Reed. I'm the Executive Director of the Pittsburgh Robotics Network. We're very happy to have everybody join us here today. We expect a great turnout. Somehow I believe we're beginning to recover from Zoom fatigue as maybe this becomes part of the new normal. If you don't know about the Pittsburgh Robotics Network, we welcome you. The organization was founded in 2016, but this year we're expanding operations with the generous support of regional and international financial sponsors who understand, as we do, that Pittsburgh is one of the biggest and best robotics communities in the world. Together with all of our stakeholders, we're working to accelerate the adoption of autonomous solutions across the world. To learn more about us, please visit robopgh.org and sign up for our mailing list. As we grow, we're going to continue to bring compelling stories in the industry, organize like this, productive discussions, and look to create new initiatives that will benefit all of us. Today, we're kicking off our Business Spotlight series, where we aim to highlight business challenges, successes, and even failures, yes, in the robotics field. We're still in an emerging industry, and we have much to learn from each other, our peers. So let me recognize our sponsors. These are the organizations that are the Pittsburgh robotics community, and they're leaders in their respective industries. First, we have our PRN founding sponsors, who have provided both fiscal and hands-on support to launch and ultimately sustain the PRN. There's Carnegie Mellon University, does not need much of an introduction, an esteemed institution that started it all for us in this industry in so many ways. We have Argo AI, a Ford-backed autonomous vehicle leader with deep roots in and a serious commitment to the community that's emerging in Pittsburgh. RE Squared, CEO Jorgen Pedersen is a tireless community and industry leader. RE2's or RE Squared's robotic arms are doing important jobs all over the world. And then finally, Carta, whose CEO Kevin Dowling was instrumental in founding the PRN. Carta is mapping and transforming the real world into a 3D model. Our sustaining sponsors are Aurora, another Pittsburgh pioneer and industry leader who recently acquired Uber's self-driving unit, and the Denton's Law Firm, which is the world's 5th largest law firm with a Pittsburgh office that has led the development of the robotics industry. And then finally, one of our annual sponsors, Omnicell. This is a $1 billion business unit in Pittsburgh, originally founded as Automated Healthcare, which provides robotic pharmacy and medication management solutions. Thank you to all of our sponsors. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to partnering and working with them going forward. I also want to encourage you to follow us on social. There's, I actually believe, a benefit to doing these virtual online seminars. You can actually multitask and jump over there right now. Go find us on LinkedIn and on Twitter, and I believe that Jen may even be linking this in the chat to follow. But go ahead and follow us at this moment. And there'll be more information as we continue to progress. And now, finally, I'd like to sincerely thank today's sponsor, BEA Americas. Without them, this event would not be possible. BEA Sensors is the industry leader in research, development, and integration of sensing solutions. Traditionally, they have led for pedestrian, industrial, transportation, and security applications, but they're making a strategic move into the robotics field. And joining us today from BEA is Tim Chiappetta, who's going to lead the discussion with today's guest, Jim Rock. Before introducing Tim, I'd like to just thank Jim. Jim's a real leader in the community. I've been enjoying to get to know him and believe that I can call him a friend now. He's been a great example for us in this industry, and I'm looking forward to hearing about about his experiences and the work that him and his team are doing at Seegrid. So Tim, thank you very much for being here. Tim is the Vice President of Business Development at BEA. He's leading their effort to expand their business into new markets and applications. And notably for us, this includes working with robotic automation partners to understand their future product and business needs. It's great having Tim here in Pittsburgh, and it's great having BEA getting more involved in this industry. I think that's a great sign for the industry when established businesses like BEA Americas is starting to see this as a strategic opportunity. So with that, Tim, I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce BEA and also introduce Jim and start us on our conversation. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Joel. And I'd like to thank everyone for attending today. We really appreciate it. Over the last 2 years, we've gotten to work with Joel and the Pittsburgh Robotics Network team a lot more, and it's a real honor to be part of this today. And we're really excited to welcome Jim Rock to start the Business Spotlight series. Seegrid's story and Jim's story are fantastic, and we're really excited to learn about some of the things Seegrid's doing. A little bit about me, and then we're going to hand it over to some of the questions for today's event. As Joel had said, I'm Tim Chiappetta, the Vice President of Business Development for BEA America. For those of you that don't know about BEA, you probably use our product without knowing it every day. Our sensors are all over automatic doors around the world that we started over 50 years ago, specifically in that area, focusing on that. In the last 2 decades, we've really expanded our focus into other automation areas, industrial automation, automation of high performance doors and equipment in industrial facilities, automation and safety sensing for industrial doors, as well as pedestrian doors, but also transportation doors such as trains and things of that nature. And you may even drive through toll booths and things on the highways that have BEA sensors. We're part of a family of companies owned by Helma. It's a company out of the United Kingdom. Helma's family of companies has a simple mission to create a safer, cleaner, healthier world. So like BEA, many of the different companies within Helma create some sort of product that protects people, cleans the, protects people or save different aspects of the environment. We're in the infrastructure safety group. So as Joel said, we focus a lot on sensing devices and equipment in that area. But enough about me. I'd really like to turn it over to some of the questions and topics for Jim Rock. For those of you that don't know, Jim is the CEO of Seegrid, one of the more innovating companies that I've came across in the Pittsburgh area. A little story about BEA. We're about a block and a half away from Seegrid, and each day as I drive into the office, it was fantastic to see the growth of Seegrid as they bought more real estate or had more buildings and added on to what they already were doing in the industry. Today you drive by and you see robots driving in buildings as we go to our office. So it's a pretty amazing thing to see over the last 10 years and something that we're really excited to be part of today. Jim, as we hand it off to you, we thank you so much for joining us today. And to start, maybe you could give us a little background about Seegrid, maybe the size of the company, and maybe from the beginnings, how it started and how you became part of that.
I'd be happy to. First of all, let me thank Joel for having me and having Seegrid on the show today. I appreciate the opportunity to brag a little bit about our team and what we're up to. That's always fun for us to do. And Tim, it's great to be here with you as well, my neighbor in the office park. So thanks for having me. So the question is how we came to be and our profile. So let's start with what we do, which is lots of different ways to describe that. But the layman's version is we're automating forklifts and not just forklifts, but industrial vehicles. You can see one if you're watching this, you can see one over my shoulder. This is really a tugger vehicle or tow tractor. So the whole class of large industrial vehicles that are moving materials in factories and warehouses, we've been on a mission to automate these safely and efficiently for about 18 years now. So the company was founded in 2003. We are a Carnegie Mellon University spinout, technology spinout, very classic example of taking super innovative technology and forming a company around it. So the company was founded by a legendary scientist and innovator, Dr. Hans Moravec, who remains our chief scientific officer to this day. So he and another entrepreneur formed the company, and I'm glad they did. I got involved much later, 2014, when the company was going through a transition. So I'm very fortunate to have had the opportunity to join the company then. So it's coming up on 7 years. It's been an amazing, amazing process for all of us. I think the growth that we've been through, I hope that many others get to experience, members of the PRN and more broadly the robotics community globally. So happy to talk a little bit about that. Today, we are 365 employees, mostly located here in the Pittsburgh area, but really through the pandemic, we did a lot of hiring remotely or outside of Pittsburgh. We have a great number of employees that are not in this region, which is fantastic. So the pandemic was certainly very challenging and weird for all of us, but the growth, particularly the hiring, has been a bright spot for Seegrid. So we have a great team. Easily the thing I'm most proud of as the leader of Seegrid. We have some good commercial performance as well, of course, but the team, the collection of people that we have at Seegrid is unparalleled in my career, the very best. So what we do essentially is take these stock industrial vehicles, we buy them from a major OEM, bring them here to Pittsburgh, and these are $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 forklifts and related vehicles, and we turn them into $150,000, $200,000 robots. A lot of hard work goes into that. A lot of innovation over the years. A lot of invention, and a lot of just straightforward engineering and product management. Hardware, software development, navigation capability. We have enterprise applications that handle the fleet management, the analytics. So we're a full spectrum company. Everything from conceptualizing and deciding, I know this is one of your questions, deciding what to make and what markets to attack, to determining the features, to the engineering, to the assembly, all of the pre-sales, business case development, application scoping, the selling, the implementation, the ongoing customer support and customer success. We have field service technicians that are out and about, making sure that our equipment is up and running. And then, of course, all the the complement of administrative services, IT, finance, accounting, et cetera. So we do it all. We're a full spectrum company, which is great. It really lets us put our hands on the steering wheel here and drive our destiny.
Yeah, it's having got to know some of the different people at your organization, and certainly the last month or so getting ready for this, the amount of touch points and the in-depth understanding of your customers has been really interesting, and I think very impressive from what I can see from the outside. When you look back at the beginnings and you see the platform and the technology that you started off with, there was a lot of different ways you could go with that. The really focus and determination and kind of eyes on the prize of where you ended up today in the autonomous forklift space. Really, it's pushing into the manufacturing areas, and that was one of probably many different areas that you could have gone with that technology, with the skill sets and talent that Seegrid brought to the table. What were some of the reasons that you focused on that, and how did you really stay with that? I'm sure there was a lot of other opportunities and different things, but what drew you to that area?
Yeah, good question. It's one of the hardest things that a company can do, and that is determine where to play and where not to play. And we've made our fair share of mistakes, no doubt. I mean, I'll talk about a lot of the positives, but there are many mistakes that we've made along the way. One of the things that I think that we do very well is pay close attention to what's available to us. We study the market, we look at options, we debate it. We have lots of inputs to our decisions from lots of different angles. We're a very customer-centric company, and we have a lot of employees that are directly involved with customers and prospective customers, and we do our best to listen to all of the inputs from the marketplace and make decisions. Should we stick with our knitting and keep moving large pallets and carts, which is our main business, or should we step aside into an adjacent market and look at smaller form factors, cases, and each items as an example? Another one is, should we stay here in North America, or should we jump the pond, so to speak, and move into Europe and ultimately Asia? And these are big league decisions that all companies face, and we're no different than any company in that temptation to take on too much. And then you can start layering on different types of products and services, et cetera. So this is a continuous dilemma, or I would say opportunity for Seegrid, again, for any company. But we're no stranger to being tempted by other opportunities and considering them, and we've certainly turned many down. So the thing about material handling, which is the broader global market that we're serving, and this is what took me by surprise when I joined the company 7 years ago. It's a huge market, and there is a very significant opportunity for automation and robotics broadly. And so I think we can stay quite busy serving even just a piece of the material handling market for decades to come. We have ambition like anybody. We have a product strategy and a product roadmap that has us going into many other areas within material handling. But outside of that, there are opportunities for this technology outside of material handling. We've experimented with a few over the years. Nothing has really risen to the level where it would make sense for us to dilute our focus and focus on something else. We experimented with a few opportunities, and some well before I joined. We looked at robotic floor cleaners, for example, and there are many companies that are doing a great job at that now. Carnegie Robotics as an example. So I think in hindsight, part of it's just dumb luck. The material handling opportunity is really big, and here we are, and we're servicing it. So I'm not going to suggest that we're sage geniuses that foresaw the future. But we did demonstrate an element of focus that I think is really important for entrepreneurs and company leaders to consider. We decided to put an extreme amount of focus on, what's the right word, customer-centric behavior, getting really close to the customers, spending a lot of time and money and effort on making sure that we have the right roles in the company, pre and post sales, to deeply understand the customer, but also keep them up and running. Robotics are not, they're not perfect. They're not there. I just read a really fascinating article this morning, I think in the Wall Street Journal, about autonomous vehicles and how the expectations set by Silicon Valley years ago that we'd all be commuting around in autonomous vehicles today obviously did not come to fruition. And having run an autonomous forklift company for the last 7 years, I know why, because it's really hard. The engineering journey alone is often overhyped by people like me. And the reality on the ground is quite difficult to get a solution safely into the marketplace and please customers, please very demanding customers. We've got some of the biggest, most demanding customers on the planet. And so we know a thing or two about keeping applications up and running and delivering real business value for customers. And it's harder than it looks, and it's very gratifying. Don't get me wrong, we love it. We're having a heck of a run here and enjoying every minute of it. But the reality is, fully autonomous, trouble-free solutions don't exist yet anywhere. And if you think, we're only going 4 miles per hour, I can't imagine what it'd be like to have to go 60 or 70 miles per hour. So, and we're indoors with no snow and sleet and rain. So the future is very bright for what we do, and I think all robotics companies. But the reality on the ground is that the amount of resource you have to put into all aspects of the business, not just the engineering. The engineering, of course, is core. In our case, the perception and navigation and all things related to the product is really the heart and soul of the company. But there are so many other incredibly important details and elements of our company, and each one of them contributes to our success. Without even just one of them, we would fail. And we've had many failures over the years. And so what I've learned as a leader, and what my team has come to appreciate over the years, is how important every person at Seegrid and every role is to our success. And it's fun. It's a team environment focused on the customer, very innovative. We have a shared sense of purpose. Our reason for why we exist is to elevate human potential. And we all have the opportunity to work wherever we want. And we work at Seegrid for many reasons, I think, but one is because, you know, we're really making a difference in society. You don't think about the supply chain much until it goes away or it stutters, as it has a bit here in the last year. And then it, you know, at least for some of us, it really gets you thinking the impact that the supply chain and material movement has on our ability to function as a society. And so elevating human potential is a big deal to us. Our culture, which I could talk for days about, is you know, beyond our safety attitude and safety mandate, our culture is the most important thing. And it leads to business performance, and it leads to, you know, all of our fiduciary duty to shareholders in terms of, you know, creating a real business with revenue and profit. But the culture is the engine of it. And so we have we've distilled our behaviors down to 3 simple words. It's actually not that simple, but, you know, we try to communicate it in a simple manner, and that is kind, curious, and driven. And those are words that really define the ideal version of ourselves, at least at work at Seegrid, and how we interact with each other. So there you go. There's a little bit of insight into how we think.
That's fantastic. Definitely a lot to kind of think about there and kind of dig into. You know, looking at the background at BEA, we started really focusing on that automatic door segment, and that really helped for us to get the foundation of what was important and learn and create that culture. We wouldn't have been able to diversify and get into other areas without that 20 or so solid years of really focusing in that area. One of the first areas we got into at the beginning of my career was the industrial automation space as well. And I was always so fascinated by how open and eager they were to look at new things and understand how they could improve their process. And, you know, as you guys bring in a new market or a new product into the market over the last 6 or 7 years, as you said, it's still evolving. How much is that a learning process with your customer to understand what their needs are and develop around that? Because I would imagine that in some cases, they're asking for things that haven't been made yet. And that progress to get to that is probably a partnership in some ways, because they're using your solutions for a certain part and then they need more, or over the last year or two or whatever, things change to increase their demand or change the way they do things. Is there a bit of that kind of cohesiveness or partnership with your customers because of the technology and because their needs are, I'm sure, changing as well?
Absolutely. That's the only way to do it, as far as I know. It's certainly the way we do it. We have as I was mentioning, just a tremendous number of people dedicated to hanging out with the customer. So starting with our product management group, moving through to our application engineering group and our implementation teams, field service teams, customer success teams. We have an army of people that are camped out and really understanding the customer's needs. And so an example is a product that we released recently. We call it Fleet Geek. And Fleet Geek is a data analytics package that is something that originated years ago in collaboration with one of our biggest customers, a large e-commerce powerhouse who I won't name, but if you click a button on your computer, they'll put a package on your doorstep a day or two later. So they're very data centric, and they pushed us to think about how we could open up some of the data streams that we have running through our robots and systems and expose it to them for real-time or near real-time intelligence, all in the spirit of improving their operations. And to your point, Tim, yes, warehousing operators, logistics operators, manufacturers, they've always been obsessed with lean principles and improvement, et cetera. They have to remain competitive, right? So they see a company like Seegrid, and if we're willing and able, they ask us for help. So in this case, we developed a system for them that ultimately we turned into Fleet Geek, which is now a big recent new product introduction that we're pushing in the marketplace. But that came about entirely due to what you're suggesting, which is a 2-year journey with a customer on solving a particular problem. I would argue that all of our new products are a result of trying to pay close attention to our customers and iterating with them. with iteration being the key. We rarely get anything right the first time. This is the reality is it takes multiple iterations to really dial in a solution, particularly in robotics, such a newish field full of innovation. There's no other way to, I think, launch successful products without being closely aligned with customers. Or if there is, I'm not familiar with it.
It wouldn't be that fun, that's for sure. Yeah, that I was also impressed as I learned more about Seegrid, the amount of industrial engineers and that customer centric. I mean, just to be in the field with them, to understand what their needs are, as you said, perhaps learn together. I would imagine you're getting a lot of different inputs from customers and seeing a lot of different experiences. This morning I was reading a new kind of a launch for you guys, and it's called Blue Labs, I believe, in a way that kind of formalizes that R&D process. I would imagine because of that amount of data and customer input and innovation, this can kind of help that. And maybe you could expand on what Blue Labs is a bit more for you guys.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. We did actually put a release out this morning to highlight the investment that we're making in innovation. Now, I will say that this company's underpinnings are based on innovation. Our founder, Dr. Hans Moravec, spent the better part of his academic career inventing the underpinnings of Seegrid, the 3D perception and the algorithms, et cetera. So we've always been in the innovation business. I hate that word, innovation, but we've always been in the advanced technology business. And today we announced something that we've been putting together over the past year, led by Brennan Selner, one of our longtime brilliant employees, who's been responsible for a number of the products that we've developed here. And so under his leadership, we've got Blue Labs, which is a formalization of I call it pragmatic R&D, right? So not R&D for R&D's sake, but still legitimate, very forward-looking technology discovery. And Brennan and his team, in collaboration with the whole company, is aiming to discover the next several waves for us to catch, and do so in a pragmatic way where ultimately it benefits our products and therefore our customers. And so Brennan has been leading this effort for a while now, but we formalized it and call it Blue Labs, and he's been building that team rapidly. And it's one of many things that I love about Seegrid is just our intent to stay out front. And we have a lot of competitors. This is a really hot space. We've got some big competitors, little competitors, some that are our size, established incumbents, new entrants that pop up seemingly every week. I mean, it's great. If you're really into building a company and competing, this is an incredible journey for all of us. And Blue Labs is an important new piece of that. And you mentioned the industrial engineers. I think that's funny that you noticed that. We do have a pretty significant investment in industrial engineers. August Drake runs our pre-sales application engineering team. Joe Mirabli was involved in setting that up and then set up our implementation team and is now working on some other things for us strategically. But those two industrial engineering leaders have really built a team of, I think, more than 20 degreed industrial engineers, which is really our secret sauce in many ways, in the sense that these are individuals that are well-trained and very dedicated and motivated to work with the customer before and after the purchase order, as I like to say it, before trying to understand the business case and which applications should we go after and which ones would be plausible and matter to the intersection between what the customer needs and what we offer. Our IEs and many others beyond IEs are really good at figuring that out and working with the customer's data to build a plausible business case that ultimately our customer's executive team can feel comfortable signing off on. But it doesn't stop there. It goes to after we get the sale, so to speak. It's the implementation and the ongoing success and further discovery of opportunities within the customer that IEs are. IEs and others at Seegrid are really good at figuring out. And so I think that's part of our secret sauce, not so secret anymore now that I've said it here to you, but the part of our success, if that's how you want to characterize the last few years, I think is due in part to this recognition that that's an important role to include in our playbook.
I agree, and I apologize for losing the secret, but it's very impressive, and certainly I can see how it adds to the products and the relationships with those customers to grow together. You know, the kind, curious, and driven. I'm reading some of the chats and some of the notes to us, and there's a lot of people that are saying they love that, and I agree. You know, having been a neighbor, so to speak, the last couple of years, last decade or so, we've seen a lot of Seegrid, as I mentioned at the beginning, and the way you've grown and gotten a chance to see kind of that culture. And I think that, you know, in addition to, you know, the social aspects and, you know, bringing your dog to work and volleyball outside and some of the fun things, which is amazing. And you can kind of see that camaraderie that your organization has. But there's also that, you know, kind of passion or inside that you can see when you're working with the people at your organization. You know, that driven, that curious aspect of those three words. You know, when you're building a team and going from 150 to 360 people in a short amount of time, and, you know, rapid growth like that, you know, how do you in your leadership team kind of keep that culture and with that scale of that kind of magnitude and staying true to what you guys are really about? And I have to say, I haven't seen it. You do it, and you do it well. You know, is there some things that you could kind of talk to about how that process happens within Seegrid?
I can try. Here, I'll mention a few things that might be useful for other companies that are listening in, which is honestly the whole reason I'm doing this, is to try to share some insights so that the broader robotics community thrives. I think, you know, look, there's no shortcut. There's no trick. There's no gimmick to culture, and it's certainly not, you know, mandated by me. You know, I try to model the behaviors, kind, curious, and driven. I'm not perfect at it. Nobody is. But one thing we do is talk about it a lot as a team. And kind, curious, and driven, you know, maybe we got it right, maybe we didn't. It's a shorthand description for the behaviors that we've noticed that we're proud of. We have behaviors that we're not proud of too, you know, but the ones that we want to reward fall into that category. So over the years, our teams, various teams, have discussed what is it that's fun about working at Seegrid, and, you know, who are some of the hires that we've made recently that really stand out, that are modeling this great behavior that we, you know, you just know it when you see it. You know, we have a lot of introverts, which is typical for a technology company. So, you know, people aren't necessarily wearing it on their sleeve, but you can tell in your interactions with them how they interact with customers, how they interact with each other. And you can point to it and say, wow, you know, I really like the way that Tim and Joel were, you know, working with each other on that particular project. And then you have the opposite example where, you know, you have bad behavior that's very obvious and it makes everyone cringe. And so that one way that I found to support positive culture is to reward positive behavior and punish negative behavior, and not aggressively, but openly and clearly. And that sends a not so subtle message to everybody, you know, what to think about when they're involved in the hiring process. So as you said, we've grown like mad. We added 100 people last year. We're going to add 100 people this year. We've got 55 against that already. You know, we're bringing on lots of new people. So there's not much I personally can do culture-wise, because I've got a whole team of people hiring new people, and that is where the rubber meets the road. You know, who you bring in next to this company is what shapes the culture and changes it. And I think so far has been changing it for the better. And I'm very proud of the culture. But the culture development is something that everybody participates in, right? It's not a CEO driven activity. I've got my viewpoint as to what I'd like it to be, but the reality is everybody has their hands on the culture steering wheel and their behaviors and what we would call out and you know, pat someone on the back or promote them for, or, you know, in some way reward them for good behavior. That really goes a long way. So, you know, we're still getting to know ourselves in our culture, and I think there are things about it that we all love. You know, the past 18 months has been a real real drag for everybody. There has been no volleyball or dogs in the office, that's for sure. So, we all miss that, and it looks like we might be able to, turn back towards that. But we have a very remote workforce now too. Not everybody gets to hang out at our facilities here in Pittsburgh, and so we're also going through a massive learning curve as to how to adapt what we all love as our culture to a kind of hybrid Zoom world. And it's honestly, I don't know how to do that, and I don't know that anybody does. I've got a team dedicated to thinking it through and looking at it, and they're doing a great job coming up with ideas. And so I feel like we're doing the best we can, but it's a really strange thing. So check back in a year or two, and we'll let you know if we're doing okay at that. But that's our current situation.
Yeah, no, I think you're doing a good job thus far, and I appreciate you answering that question, because I think it's the word culture is tricky, and over the last year, there's been a lot of changes that can impact culture. So I think it's fascinating to understand how that kind of organization and team builds and creates that. It's like you said, not one person, it's internal, and it's also in the last year changed quite a bit, whether your team's expanding to different parts of the country, or I think a lot of people that are listening today have those types of challenges. And I think that hearing about the team that you have thinking about it, looking at different ways to kind of drive maybe those 3 words in a broader sense across your organization and maintain that personality, but still have the opportunity to scale at the speed that you need. So I appreciate that. I think it's really important. And as you're not a young company, but you're growing fast, but you have new people coming in all the time. And I think it's really, really fascinating how you can kind of keep that thus far from what I can see. Being from the sensor world in my career, I've always been fascinated and drawn to how sensors can see things and protect things and add safety to the world. That's what drew me to the industry originally. And I know that really matters a lot to Seegrid as well. If I say this right, I think you guys are approaching 5 million miles of safe driving. If maybe you surpassed it even already. Can you talk a little bit about that in terms of safety? And, I know it's not one of those 3 words that we talked about, but man, it sure jumps out when I learn about Seegrid, when I read about you, when I see your website, when I talk to people. What does that mean in that kind of common goal? I think that the automation aspect of what your products do speaks for itself, the ROIs, those types of things, but it seems like that safety is that first thing on the checklist most of the time when you're building something or designing something new.
Yeah, it sure is. Safety is the first lecture you get when you meet me, right? It's, I say lecture, I'm just kidding. Hopefully I don't lecture anybody, but safety is the first thing that I try to communicate when I meet somebody that is either a new employee and we're trying to orient them as to what matters at Seegrid. Of course, our culture matters, kind, curious, and driven, but safety is the main event. The reality in our industry is that forklifts can be very dangerous. And there's a really sad set of statistics around the injuries. And so we're doing our best to bring this innovation to market that includes safety and safer operation and a safer alternative to humans driving forklifts, which are involved in just an unacceptable level of injury and death. So we want to do something different. And you're right, we're approaching 5 million. Actually, I haven't looked at the website for a while, so I don't know if we've just passed it or we're about to, but we're in the neighborhood of 5 million miles of autonomously driven miles in production environments like the one behind me. This is a major customer. These are not pilot tests or sales demos, but actually running in production, moving equipment in the real world. We've got in the neighborhood of 5 million miles with no personnel safety incidents, knock on wood. So that's a big deal to us. That's a heck of an accomplishment. There are a lot of things that we're proud of here and there related to running the business, revenue growth and new products and new hires and all of that fun stuff. But our safety record is something that we brag a lot about for lots of reasons, but mostly because we work really hard at it. And we really lean into the concept that all of us have this obligation, this duty to each other and to the market, to our customers, to both keep ourselves safe as we're operating at Seegrid and at customer facilities, and produce products that do the same thing and carry that forward. And a lot of time and effort goes into that. So yeah, I'm glad you sensed that in your interactions with us. You got it right. That's what we care. We care about a lot of things, but that is the beginning point of our DNA.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been in way too many hundreds or thousands of warehouses, just like you have in the background, and I definitely have a healthy respect for a forklift. And so I was looking at that safety record and understanding, everyone needs to go to work and be safe. And so you have this kind of balance of automation, improvement, and efficiency and output, but you also want to protect people. And so there's that balance. And I think, it's never a question more than right now with the speed at which things are evolving, but also, interacting with people. So I appreciate you touching on that a little bit. It means a lot to me too. In the last year, 2 years, there's been incredible growth. I know we've talked about, the adding of people and certainly new customers. And, there's a lot of people that are part of this industry 4.0 kind of revolution, if you will, that are listening. And certainly I would imagine others have experienced, similar or other maybe challenging things over the last 18 years. But the sense of automation is certainly speeding up. And, as you look at maybe some recommendations for people that want to play in this space or work with companies like Seegrid or, get into this, do you have advice in terms of how to kind of operate in that world, recommendations of, how they can meet the demands of working with someone like you or working with, other people in this space?
Yeah. Okay. So here's the bad news. Don't believe the hype is my recommendation. The take rate or the ability for companies to absorb new tech from companies like mine and yours and many that are listening is what it is and always has been. And so I'm a old dog in this tech startup world now, 30 plus years. And maybe earlier in my career, I used to believe the hype and think that, this Gartner report or, that Forbes article or whatever is forecasting the coming wave of innovation and the hockey stick, right, sales curve. So the reality is customers can only accept this new stuff at the pace that they're capable. And that's never really changed in my career. So I've been involved in a lot of really interesting and weird tech startups over my career. And the reality is that, a General Motors, even an Amazon or these innovative large companies, there's only so fast that they can, the pace that they can accept. And some of them move faster than others. It's Jeffrey Moore's, crossing the chasm, adoption curve, and you've got your early adopters and early majority, et cetera. And so there are different profiles of customers. But the reality is that, yes, industrial automation is hot right now, and thanks to our friend the pandemic, the ways to improve supply chain automation are very popular at the moment. But the truth is that this is a marathon, not a sprint for any company. So my advice to other companies that are wanting to jump into our space, first of all, don't do it. There's nothing here. Look the other way. But if you do, or there are lots of really cool robotics companies that are members of the PRN or members of the Pittsburgh Robotics community. They're chasing all kinds of really awesome stuff, like agriculture, for example. And so that build your company strategy and your financing model around nothing working right at first or second shot, and needing 5 times more money than you imagine, and needing 5 times more quarters in your product development than what your optimistic self might believe in the hype machine. That's something I've learned the hard way over the last 30 years. It's certainly true at Seegrid. It's true at any company. There are always anomalies to that and kind of outliers in those statistics. But my opinion is that this robotics thing in general, and our space in particular, but probably most markets where robotics are chasing, there will be several successful companies. And I think those companies, the ingredients that go into those successful companies are a pragmatic view of the timing and the work that goes into it, and imagining that there are no shortcuts to any of this. And that the most important thing is the team and the clarity that you provide for the team as to why you exist and what you're going to focus on and not focus on, and the short and long-term objectives and how you behave. And then if you get all that right, which is already a lot of work, pay really close attention to what's happening at the customer level, what they need, and how they're reacting to what you give them. And if you can do that as an entrepreneur, as a founding team, as a group of employees in a emerging tech startup, then that's more than half the battle, in my opinion.
Yeah, that it's interesting as you see the hockey stick predictions. Talking to customers, getting out there, a lot of people don't know how to buy this stuff yet. It's new, and there's this adoption rate that has an education element to it, so that they know what they're doing. And sure, the biggest of the biggest are a little bit more advanced at buying those types of products or products like yours, but for that widespread adoption, it takes a little bit of time. So I couldn't agree more. I think the two words, as we've talked the last couple of weeks, and as I've listened today, if for those listening to this, take away team and focus. If you have the right people and you look at, what your goals are, and then estimate a bit long and go into the agricultural space for automation. But that team and focus, I think, is something that I've, sensed with you over the last hour, and also leading up to today. And, I think it's a good takeaway for the group. We have a lot of questions coming in, and I know we only have 10 more minutes. So I was going to maybe speak to Joel and Jen and see if maybe we wanted to take a few of those.
Sure thing. Yeah, sure. We've got some good ones here. So why don't we try? Let's start with this one. So David Calson, who's a key leader in the Denton's office here in Pittsburgh, wants to know. I know, the Pittsburgh robotics community is something we're all proud of, obviously, here at the PRN, and Seegrid having your office here in Pittsburgh. How does growing this company largely in Pittsburgh provide an advantage to you, to Seegrid, versus maybe, other worldwide locations or competition worldwide?
Great question, David Calson. David Calson, for those of you who don't know, is a wonderful tech startup attorney. So if you're in the market, call David for sure. So the Pittsburgh Advantage, what's that all about? Look, I'm born and raised in Pittsburgh. I'm a townie, and I moved away to Silicon Valley for a while and learned a thing or two, and came hightailing back for many reasons. One is quality of life. So in addition to having a nice place to live for you and your partner or family or friends, we also have some powerhouse educational institutions. Carnegie Mellon University being the one that we're associated with, but University of Pittsburgh, Penn State University, Robert Morris University, et cetera, et cetera. There's an incredible pipeline of talent, of hardworking men and women that are well-trained, well-educated, motivated right here in Pittsburgh. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Seegrid is well beyond Pittsburgh at this point in terms of our hiring and our ambition, and we've got employees all over the place. We hired one a few months ago in Spain, as an example. And so we're going to where the talent is. But Pittsburgh as a home base of operations, this is my 6th or 7th company that is university spin out related, Pittsburgh area. This is an easy place to set up shop and have both work life and professional life, with the relatively easy access to the rest of the world. It's been a little bit less easy over the last decade or so in terms of flying directly to places, but the truth is you can get to where you need to go. You've got this incredible talent pipeline, very supportive community for entrepreneurship in general. And I'm here by choice. I'd like to think that most of the people I work with are here by choice and enjoying it. We've recruited some people from out of town into Pittsburgh. We don't do that anymore. A number of new hires that I've made, my new chief technology officer and chief revenue officer, do not live in Pittsburgh and do not have to. So our attitude has shifted. But by and large, being a Pittsburgh-based company is a good thing, and I think it's a well-kept secret nationally, and I'd like to keep it that way.
I agree. The secret of Pittsburgh, I had a similar journey to California and back, and it was for a lot of the same reasons. It's our little secret here. The one question I had at the end, and we could take a few more, but it kind of touched on that. You've been in a really unique position over the last 20 or 30 years. The robotics community and the Robotics Network has grown quite a bit, I would imagine. That community, have you seen that evolution, and have you seen that kind of draw from outside of Pittsburgh, knowing that the industry and from a global standpoint as well?
I have, yeah. It's a lot of fun to watch. I said it earlier. I'm here by dumb luck, right? I'm not a roboticist. I was fortunate to get the opportunity to get involved with Seegrid, and I thank my lucky stars for it. And in the last 7 years has been really wild to not only participate in Seegrid's journey, that of course has been incredibly gratifying for all of us, but the evolution of the robotics ecosystem in general, not just Pittsburgh, but globally, has been really fun to study and watch and learn from. So that, there's CMU, of course, is I think I read recently that CMU started the first university level robotics program, I believe, back in 1979. I hadn't realized that until recently. I knew that they were, on the map early, but not the first. So I don't know if much about the history there, but certainly I appreciate the talent that has come out of CMU. And again, not just CMU, all of the local universities and trade schools participate heavily in our success in terms of providing really talented graduates. But CMU is a very special place in terms of the robotics community. There's several really high-profile individuals, researchers that have come out of there and gone on to some amazing things. And so there's something going on there that has the world's attention, and we're proud to be a part of it, and we are very much a part of it. And I know that there are hundreds of other either companies or soon-to-be companies that are percolating under the surface, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited to be part of the mix.
Yeah, and be more proud of it. And for those that are being part of the mix, don't forget the Pittsburgh Robotics Network. So please be a part of it.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Jenn, I know you have a couple more.
Certainly love that plug. So question here, what advice might you be able to offer, or what are you noticing, because you're sort of involved, you're embedded in industry wise in some of these things. Do you have any particular trends or patterns or things that you're observing right now that you could maybe speculate on? Because other business leaders, struggle with how to keep up, right? With an ever-changing, dynamic, fast-paced industry that you're in. Any tips or tricks you have to keep up, and what you see coming future forward?
Okay, that's a tough one. I mean, we all struggle, myself included. There's, as I was saying, there's no magic trick to all of this. It's good old hard work and focus and dedication. My team largely is very focused on our objectives, and we're willing to fine tune or swap out the objectives based on trends we're seeing in the marketplace. And so we're all doing our very best in terms of paying attention to what's happening in the market, and we're always prepared to adjust as we see different signals coming in. I would think, I think the impact of the pandemic has had introduced some interesting dynamics to our world, our market. just in terms of fluctuating the supply chain to a point where it's just hard for the systems to keep up with the demand. And there's a weird labor situation going on right now where, yes, there's still some unemployment, but for whatever reason in the manufacturing and warehouse material handling sector, it's very difficult to hire qualified people. And that is, of course, an opportunity for automation, which is great for companies like Seegrid. But it causes you to scratch your head a little bit and bake that into your planning. So that's one trend that we follow closely. Just the short and long-term demand for what we do, and specifically where to place our bets going forward. You may have seen that we launched a really exciting new product, a lift truck in the market. We did this a few months ago, and this is a big game changer for us. And we did that based on our opinion as to what the demands are in material handling and the type of material moves that we think are going to be the most important to serve. So we've got a lot to say around the trends in material handling. I would say the trends in robotics are incredibly exciting as sensors become more proven. As Tim would know with BEA, of course, they're getting cheaper, hopefully, right, Tim? And they're just getting more integrated into robotics. And so the ability for engineers and product managers and others to cobble together a solution that satisfies a real customer, urgent problem, an aspirin, not a vitamin, as I like to say. The ability to do that faster and faster is well in hand right now. And you've got these amazing open source robotics, ROS2, et cetera, platforms that just enable this rapid product development. That's super exciting for everybody. I think it's good for society. I think it's good for capitalism and starting businesses, good for customers. So everybody wins. And I guess the summary answer to your question is that the trend that we're seeing as it relates to robotics product development is all very positive. In the kind of next 10 years will be easier than the last 10 years in product development. I think it'll be harder from a competition standpoint, and that ultimately benefits us as a society too. But it's going to be fun to watch, and I hope to remain a part of it.
Excellent answer. Excellent. Thank you so much. I think we're here at the top of the hour here. I'm going to ask Joel to come back on and maybe make some closing remarks.
Really unfortunate that we only have an hour, but I know Jim and Tim and everybody are super busy. What an incredible conversation. Thank you both extremely. I appreciate that. So, and Jim, I do want to say to you that I apologize, but our interests are not perfectly aligned as we are trying to make sure that people understand and know more about Pittsburgh and companies like Seegrid. So maybe we'll stay at odds on that one for a little bit longer. But I understand your rationale. I truly do. I typically like to summarize what I've taken away from these conversations here at the end, but there's so much that came from it. So I'll just highlight just a couple of things. First of all, I continue to love when we talk about a company like Seegrid and the many others in our community that have so much amazing technology that we don't talk about that technology. The conversation was about customers, culture, and team. We didn't even get to occupancy grids, which is okay, because we have to do all of this to be successful in our respective markets. And culture is the engine. And thank you so much for sharing this, the way you look at this in terms of kind, curious, and driven. That will remain Seegrid's. But I think it's really good that something for all of us to think about and embrace in our businesses, in our daily lives. And I think I'm also not surprised that your success has hinged on the singular focus on safety. Again, it's not necessarily about the technology or performance or other business case factors. I mean, obviously, those are all extremely important, but warehouse safety is critically important to owner-operators in these areas. And it's really great that you've been committed and been successful in delivering on that. So Jim, to you, thank you very much. Thank you for spending your time with us. And I really appreciate that you're doing this to help out, first and foremost, the Pittsburgh community, but really the broader industry that we're all working to create. And to Tim, thanks a lot. Incredibly insightful conversation. It's really been a pleasure working with you in developing this webinar. And I personally am looking forward to seeing BEA grow in the market segment. Again, I want to thank all of our sponsors. Please be sure to check them out. I also want to acknowledge the voice that we've been hearing, Jenn Apicella, who's our Director of Programming. Jenn, thank you very much. She was responsible for developing this program, the Business Spotlight Series, and many other programs to come. So please continue to follow along. This webinar was recorded, so we will make that available to you afterwards. And we might try to address some of these questions that we were unable to get to. And I just want to encourage everybody, please reach out. We have to be connected. Try to follow us and become more involved. If you have any questions for us, you can reach us at info@robopgh.org and connect with us at robopgh.org on our website. Tim, Jim, Jenn, thank you to all the attendees. Really appreciate it. Everybody have a good day. Take care.